Well, we haven't spoken about Victor Osimhen for a long, long time, have we? But according to Matt Law, discussions have been had between Arsenal and Galatasaray for the striker to see if that is a potential deal that could happen. This is all while the Romero and Martinelli conversations are going on as well. I think it was 2024, the last time we were talking about him as a potential target. I was kind of convinced he'd go to Chelsea. He ended up going to Galatasaray. We'll look at his numbers in a sec because he's kept up that goal scoring form. He's shown his quality against other sides in Europe for sure, in the Champions League too. But I just kind of thought that story was done. For whatever reason, Arsenal didn't firm up their interest or go big for him back then. Why would they 2 years on? Well, maybe because he's still a brilliant striker and they still think he can add something huge to Arsenal. I'd love to know Alex Moneypenny's thoughts on this, Alex of the Different Knock, because he has spoken like so glowingly in the past of Victor Osimhen. I'd love to sort of get his take today in August of 2026. But it's an interesting link, it's an exciting link. It comes from someone, Matt Law, who has been at the forefront of some quite big Arsenal transfer news that has proven to be really reliably sourced, that has been actually deals that have either got done or look like getting done. Let's give you some examples of it. For example, he was the first to break the Madueke interest. He was the first to talk about Arsenal being one of the clubs circling Noni Madueke. Matt Law doesn't strike me as a transfer journalist. He is just a good football journalist, probably very good. I'm probably, being harsh when I say just good. Very good football journalist who breaks stories, and one of them has been the Noni Madueke story to Arsenal. And he broke the news of Arsenal's interest. I just had a feeling that there was really something to it. Lo and behold, it happened. He was also the first, a good month and a half ago, so I think this might have been mid-June, he was the first to talk about Arsenal having a real interest in Ezri Konsa. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Matt Law covers Chelsea quite significantly, so that's probably how he got the Noni scoop. And he also is a Villa fan, again, if I'm not mistaken, so that might be how he's got good contacts in the Villa space. I don't know what the links would be with Osimhen, other than he's a journalist, right? He's going to have contacts, he's going to know things. I think Konsa will happen. It's been largely, well, do I think it will happen? I'm sort of 60-40 will happen. But it's been sort of covered by so many journalists that deal's probably going to happen. Like I said, Madueke happened. So, I don't know, with Matt Law, the track record's good. So he said that Arsenal have held talks with Galatasaray over Osimhen. In the article, he said that Arsenal hold a long-standing interest in Osimhen, but he's been below Alvarez in the club's list of striker targets. Atletico's £100 million plus valuation has so far proved to be prohibitive to Arsenal, and consideration is understood to have been given to switching targets. He then said in his own tweet about all this, Victor Osimhen's name is believed to have been discussed amid Arsenal's talks with Galatasaray over Martinelli and Romero. Unclear at this stage on level of interest or which club prompted Osimhen discussion. Okay, I guess it's prediction time. We'll go into his stats in a second, Osimhen, but I think if we're to make some predictions over this, I think this feels like a Berta plate spinning exercise. I think this feels like Berta saying, hey, we actually really like your striker. You're interested in two of our players. Let's have a good conversation about where we can make this a simpler deal. I don't know if adding players makes it simpler, but I suppose it does in terms of the mega money that might be moved around between clubs. I do wonder if there's a world in which Arsenal have gone, well, listen, for Martinelli and Romero, we'd like Osimhen. By the way, I'm not saying that's good value, but Arsenal seem to be super undervaluing all their players that it wouldn't surprise me. There's a world in which Galatasaray maybe going, hold on, you want more for Martinelli than we want. You want more than we want to pay. You want more for Romero than we want to pay. Why don't we include Osimhen in a deal? Could be all these things. I don't really know. I do feel like this is maybe Berta as well, trying to get it out there that, or some way. It wouldn't surprise me if this was an element of Arsenal trying to get it out there. So Atletico Madrid, no, listen, Alvarez, you're not being sold to Barcelona. Atletico, don't be too cheeky with the price because Arsenal will look at other targets. I think there's a world when all those things happen. It also screams to me that this might be the sort of marquee attacker that they're looking at. And I think there's only room for one. I don't think Arsenal will pull off two between now and the end of the window. If they do, fine. So then you're looking at Jesus maybe to leave. Now, rumours linking with it's not rumours, it's reports. Reports linking with a move to Napoli really stepped up today. In fact, actually, if I just read you what Matteo Moretto posted, who works closely with Fabrizio Romano and is very, very accurate with his info. Napoli moves forward for Gabriel Jesus, he said, and he's talked about it on YouTube. So Napoli are looking to pursue that target. So if he's to leave and Osimhen's to come in, that is the one in, one out thing that Arsenal have been doing. But then you have got Havertz, Osimhen and Gyökeres, who would all be expecting to be starting up front. I don't think there's room for all three. I think there's barely room for two, but I don't think there's room for all three. So it does make you wonder whether something else might happen. Yeah, I don't know. We'll keep an eye. I keep saying that I have this horrible feeling that Atletico are going to knock on the door for Gyökeres. And I say horrible feeling not because I'm super wedded to Gyökeres staying, but because I don't want us to be left light, and he is a brilliant goal scorer, whatever you think of him. He's a different option to what we've got. And I just feel like Arsenal might be tempted to do a sale that leaves the squad a little bit thin just because it brings money. And that's why I've been concerned about the Lewis Skelly reports, even though others seem to think it's nonsense. I think there's a little bit more fire producing that smoke than people are giving it credit for. So, yeah, an interesting one there. All of this is very, very fascinating. I do.
Transfer show without breaking news. Michael Bridge.
Yeah, it's not come from Tottenham, it's not come from Atletico Madrid yet, it's come from Christian Romero himself announcing his departure and his goodbye from Tottenham Hotspur on his personal Instagram account. It's a long statement, so I'll pick out the main bits. Today I say goodbye to a place that for 5 seasons was much more than a club. It was my home, my challenge, and the place where my family and I built such an important part of our lives. I leave with a heart full of memories and enormous pride for everything we lived and achieved together. When I arrived, I had a clear dream to leave my name in the club's history. I knew the only way was through hard work, sacrifice, and achieving something that had seemed so difficult for so long, lifting a trophy again. And we did it. This is a key line here. The journey wasn't perfect, but I don't want that to define my goodbye. I chose to remember the happy moments, the lessons, the people who stood by me, above all, the love I received during these last 5 years. And he goes on to thank everybody, especially the supporters. And it's just imminent now when I'm sure we'll get an announcement from Tottenham Hotspur and Atletico Madrid that Tottenham Hotspur club captain Christian Romero is no longer the club captain and he will be an Atletico Madrid player.
Talks about the love he received. Spurs fans going to miss him?
No.
What makes Osimhen a sensible fit on paper is fairly simple. Arsenal's front line has, at various points, lacked a true focal point, someone who can play with his back to goal, hold the ball up under pressure, and finish the kind of half-chances that Arsenal's build-up play generates in abundance. Osimhen's profile, pace in behind, strength in the box, a proven scoring record in Serie A, ticks a lot of those boxes on a spreadsheet. The complications are financial rather than football-related. Any move would involve a significant fee, a release clause negotiation, and likely competition from clubs in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere who can simply outspend a Premier League release clause structure. So when you hear, Arsenal are in for Osimhen, the honest answer is, they're one of several clubs monitoring one of several available strikers, and nothing here suggests it's close to being finalized. That's the state of play. Now here's where it gets more interesting. Okay, let's talk about what's actually moving behind the scenes.